Our flight was supposed to depart Sunday 11:40 a.m. from LAX, but was delayed until 2:30 p.m. After almost a 12-hour flight, we finally landed in Japan at 5:45 p.m. local time. We spent the next 2.5 hours in immigration and customs and finally finished at 8:15 p.m. We planned to redeem our JR pass at the airport, but the JR office closed at 8 p.m. We were 15 minutes too late thanks to our delays. We rented a Wi-Fi puck at the airport for 16 days with unlimited Wi-Fi. We also got 2 Suica cards to use for traveling by train. We tried to take the train from Haneda Airport to our hotel in Shibuya, but we got on the wrong train and ended up going in the wrong direction. It ended up taking us 1.5 hours to get to our hotel when it should have only taken 45 minutes. We finally arrived at our hotel around 10:30 p.m. We left our hotel at 9:15 a.m. and got a quick breakfast snack at Lawson to start the day. Our first stop was Sakura Street, but unfortunately, there were no more cherry blossoms left since the season started early this year. Luckily, we did see our first sakura tree walking to our next destination, so we stopped to get some pictures. We walked back to Shibuya Crossing to check out the famous Hachiko statue. We also got drinks at Starbucks. We planned on going up to the Shibuya Sky Observation Deck, but tickets were sold out for the day. We instead used this time to exchange our JR pass. It's now noon, and we decided to try another cherry blossom spot, Meguro River. The trees were no longer in full bloom, but there was still enough left to appreciate the famous flowers. We were feeling super jet-lagged and needed some caffeine to help us get through the day, so we stopped by Onibus Coffee near the station. Starving, we decided to eat at a dipping noodle restaurant next to the station as well. It was so delicious! After eating, we took the train to Harajuku Station to check out Meiji Jingu Shrine. It is a shrine adjacent to Yoyogi Park, which is a large forested area within the densely built-up city of Tokyo. This was one of my favorite spots in Tokyo as I personally enjoy nature. We left the shrine around 4 p.m. and walked to the famous Harajuku Fashion District. We didn't spend too much time here as we aren't really into fashion, but it was cool to see. We took the train back to Shibuya to call it a day, but we had one more stop before going back to the hotel, the Mugiwara store. We stopped by Lawson on the way back to the hotel and got back at 6:45 p.m. We also reserved tickets for Shibuya Sky for the end of our trip to make sure we had a spot. We started the day at 7:30 a.m. by walking to the Starbucks Reserve Roastery for breakfast, not realizing it was on Meguro River. We tried different pastries and drinks that were not available in the US, like Sakura macchiatos. After breakfast, we took the 9 a.m. train and headed to Tokyo Skytree. There are many stores here, but we came for one specific store, the Pokemon Center. We finished shopping and decided to eat some katsu for lunch at Skytree. Of course, the food was delicious! After lunch, we decided to burn the calories by walking to Senso-Ji, Tokyo's oldest temple. We took a break on the way to Senso-Ji at a park that had a nice view of Skytree. We arrived at Senso-Ji at 1:30 p.m. The temple's vibrant architecture and rich history create an awe-inspiring atmosphere. There were also many souvenir shops right outside the temple. Before heading to our next destination, we bought some drinks from 7-Eleven to stay hydrated. Hoping to find fully bloomed cherry blossoms, we head to Ueno Park. No dice. We did get a snack at the park though. We made our way to Akihabara after the park and arrived at 4 p.m. We spent most of our time in the arcade and looking at anime stores. I ended up spending way too much money in the arcade only to win one figure. I could have just bought 2 figures with the money I spent. Taking the L from the arcades, we head back to Shibuya at 6 p.m. We window shop for a couple hours to check out the stores in Shibuya. To end the day, we ate sushi near the hotel for dinner and got back to the hotel at 9 p.m. We left our hotel at 7 a.m. with some of our luggage in hand because we planned on dropping it off at my cousin's place to lighten our load before we head to Kyoto in a couple days. We take the train to our next destination and drop our luggage off at a storage locker in the station. We head for Tokyo Tower and decide to walk through a park on the way. Tokyo Tower is the second tallest structure in Japan, the first being Skytree from the day before. We walked across the street to check out Zojo-Ji. After admiring the temple, we head for Atago-Jinja. We stopped at a cafe for breakfast at 9:30 a.m. on the way to the shrine. Refueled and ready to go, we walked to Atago-Jinja. Climbing the flight of stairs was believed to bring good luck, so we embraced the challenge. After bidding farewell to Atago-Jinja, we walked to the nearest station. We took the train to Hiei Shrine. We finished up around 11:30 a.m. and decided to walk to Yoshinoya for lunch. Yoshinoya in Japan is so much better compared to the States. Not learning our lesson, we head for another cherry blossom spot, Chidorigafuchi Park. Of course, there is nothing left. We took the train back to the station where we left our luggage to pick it up. We also used a vending machine for the first time to get a drink. Luggage in hand, we head for Saitama to see our family. However, we took an unexpected turn and got lost for the second time. We planned on arriving in Saitama at 3, but thanks to our delay, we ended up arriving at 4:30 p.m. We originally planned on going to Tokyo Disney Sea the next day, but after all the walking we've been doing the last few days, our legs needed a break. Since we weren't going to Disney anymore, we didn't need to go back to our hotel, so we stayed the night in Saitama with family. For dinner, they took us to a restaurant where we caught our own fish to eat for dinner. It was such an exciting and unique dining experience. Exhausted from the day's adventures, we got to bed around 11:30 p.m. Today will be a short one since today was mostly spent with family. They took us to a mall in Koshigaya for a mini pig cafe, dinner, and shopping. The mini pig cafe was cool because just like yesterday's dinner where we caught our own fish, we got to pick which pig we would turn into katsu. Just kidding. After eating revolving sushi for dinner, we took the train back to Shibuya to prepare our stuff for Mount Fuji tomorrow. We started the day by checking out of our hotel in Shibuya at 7 a.m. We took the train to Shinagawa Station so that we could transfer to the bullet train. We bought a bento box at the station so we could have breakfast on the way to Mount Fuji. We got on the bullet train at 9:30 a.m. I looked up how long it would take to drive to our hotel in Fuji from Tokyo, and it said it would take almost an hour and a half, whereas the bullet train took about an hour. After arriving in Fuji, our hotel was right across the street from the station, so we dropped off our luggage. Leaving the hotel at 10:45, we made our way to the main attraction, Shira-Ito Waterfall. It was a bit out of the way and the trains were less frequent compared to Tokyo, but it was well worth it. About 2 hours later, we finally arrived at the waterfall at 12:50 p.m. The views were amazing and it was refreshing to be surrounded by so much nature. There were stores at the entrance of the waterfalls where we decided to get souvenirs, lunch, and dessert. We got on the 3:40 p.m. bus to head back to the hotel. However, we encountered an issue when we got to the station. One of our JR passes was missing. We searched all our belongings and couldn't find it anywhere. The JR pass let us get on the bullet train for free, but since we lost one, we had to purchase reservations for when we planned on using the bullet train. This cost us almost an extra $200 on top of the price of the JR pass. This also meant one of us couldn't use certain trains for free and would have to pay with a Suica card. Moral of the story is do not lose your JR pass because they cannot be reissued if they are lost. We grabbed a quick snack before heading back to the hotel. When we arrived at the station, we took a taxi to our hotel since it was too dark and cold to walk to the other station where our hotel was. We got back to our hotel at 8 p.m. and set an alarm for 6 a.m. for our 7 a.m. bullet train reservation to Kyoto. Our day began with taking the bullet train at 7 a.m. We arrived in Kyoto at 9:30 a.m. and again we got a hotel across the street from the station. After dropping off our luggage and grabbing a quick snack from Lawson, we headed for Kiyomizu-Dera. This is one of the most popular, if not the most popular temple in Kyoto. We spent about an hour at the temple and left at noon. Right in front of Kiyomizu-Dera is Sannenzaka, which is a stone-paved road with traditional buildings and shops. There were many souvenir shops, but we decided not to buy any yet since we might find better deals elsewhere. We decided to get lunch and dessert here. After eating, we walked to Maruyama Park nearby to enjoy the scenery. Afterwards, we walked to the shopping district on Kawaramachi Street. We took the bus back to the hotel and finished checking in at 4 p.m. We rested for a bit and decided to get Japanese curry for dinner. We got back to the hotel at 7:15 p.m. and called it a night. We woke up at 5 a.m. to take the first train to the famous Arashiyama bamboo forest. We arrived at the bamboo forest at 6:30 a.m. We spent about an hour in the forest before heading to our next destination. We arrived at Ryoan-Ji right when it opened at 8 a.m. It is a Zen temple known for its rock garden. We stayed for about an hour before making our way to Kinkaku-Ji, another Zen temple. We spent about another hour here and bought a souvenir. Afterwards, we made our way to Heian Shrine. We came across a hole-in-the-wall udon shop and decided to grab some breakfast. After filling up our stomachs, we continued our walk to the shrine. Done with the sightseeing for now, we headed back to the shopping district on Kawaramachi Street from yesterday for more shopping. Nearby was the Nishiki Market, which is a narrow alley with more than 100 shops and restaurants dating back to the 14th century. Around 2 p.m., we headed for our last destination for the day, Toji Temple. It is the tallest wooden pagoda in Japan. Afterwards, we stopped by the mall for shopping and food, before getting back to our hotel at 5 p.m. We started today bright and early at 4:30 a.m. to head back to Kiyomizu-Dera to enjoy it without the crowds. Since there isn't much public transit this early, we took a taxi. It was even more enjoyable this time around. We took the bus back to the hotel at 7 to get ready for the rest of the day. We got snacks at Lawson and withdrew 10,000 yen since we were low on cash. We took the train to Nara Deer Park and arrived at 10 a.m. The park is famous for its friendly deer population, although one of them decided to attack me. Afterwards, we got lunch and dessert near the park. After filling our stomachs, we took the train to Osaka. We arrived at our first destination, Osaka Castle, at 2 p.m. After spending 2 hours at the castle, we took the train to Tutankhaku Tower. There wasn't much to see, so we headed to the next place, Dotonbori. Osaka had a unique vibe compared to Kyoto and Tokyo, which was interesting. Before heading back to Kyoto, we refilled our Suica cards since they were running low from all the public transit. We got back to our hotel at 8 p.m.
Today is another early start as we took the train at 5:30 a.m. Our first stop of the day is the famous Fushimi Inari Shrine. We spent about 2.5 hours here, captivated by its breathtaking views, leaving us in awe of its beauty. At 8:30 a.m. we left for our next destination, Kurama-Dera. It is located in the mountains north of the city. We arrived at the shrine at 9 a.m. This temple stood out since it was in the mountains away from civilization. The temple was part of a hike that goes through the mountains, which ended in an area near a restaurant we wanted to try for lunch. We ended up finishing the hike at noon. We got to the restaurant we wanted to try, and unfortunately, it was closed for the season. So sad. We ended up eating at a different restaurant nearby, which was delicious. Since this was our last day in Kyoto, we gave the rest of the day to souvenir shopping. We withdrew more cash and went back to Sannenzaka for souvenirs. We got back to the hotel at 6:15 p.m. and started to pack our stuff for Tokyo tomorrow. After packing, we decided to eat okonomiyaki for dinner and called it a night. It is our last full day in Japan, so we checked out of our hotel and took the bullet train back to Tokyo at 8:30 a.m. We made our way back to Shibuya for the 1 p.m. reservations we made at Shibuya Sky. We arrived in Shibuya at 11:40 a.m. and decided to eat at Disney Harvest Market and get boba while waiting for our reservation. We made it to our Shibuya Sky reservation, which gave a breathtaking view of the city. There were buildings as far as the eye can see in all directions. We did some last-minute shopping in Shibuya, then headed back to our cousin's house at 3:45 p.m. to stay the night. We got picked up at the station in Saitama at 5:30 p.m. and ate dinner. On our last day in Japan, we took the bus to Haneda Airport and arrived at 2:45 p.m. We checked in our luggage, returned the pocket Wi-Fi, ate ramen, and used up the remaining balance on our Suica cards at Lawson. Our flight was supposed to depart at 6:25 p.m, but got delayed. We took off from Tokyo on April 14 at 7:45 p.m. and landed in LAX on April 14 at 1:20 p.m.